All right, cheers everyone. Good morning. Happy Friday. Hopefully you guys are all having a great day today. I know it's kind of rainy in some places. It's rainy here in Atlanta as well, but nevertheless, it's a Friday. What could be better than a Friday on a Friday morning, afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. So my name is Terry White. I'm here today to take you through one of my favorite topics, which is photography, because this is a photography masterclass. So for those of you who are new, we do these masterclasses every Friday. When I say we, I mean the Adobe evangelists, the product specialists here at Adobe. We basically do our various disciplines. So you'll see graphic design, you'll see photography, you'll see audio and video, digital painting and drawing, as well as Adobe Express here on this channel. Every Friday, even on the Fridays where we're not live, we still usually have replays. So you have every Friday to check something out new and join us in the chat. Speaking of the chat, we have a couple, you could be watching this in multiple places. You could be watching this on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Twitch maybe. I can't remember if I set that one up. Yeah, Twitch. Facebook, if I didn't say that already. You could be watching it anywhere. Wherever you're watching it, YouTube, that's great. But the main chat takes place, see if I've got the link here. The main chat takes place at b.net/Adobe Live. So that's the chat that I'm looking at right now, and I see Cody Bear, a moderator. I see William Davidson. I see Daniel. I see Reverb Mike, L Third, Lower Third. I get it. Samuel, I'm not going to try and pronounce your last name because I'll screw it up, but I see you all over there on the main chat over at Behance, and that's great. But if you are want to hang out where you are, great. I'll try and look at both chats at the same time, but there's no guarantee that I'll be successful in seeing your question that way. So without further ado, let's talk about what we're going to be doing today. And this is the thing about anything that's live. There will be some things that hopefully go great, and there'll be some things that might not go great because it's live. You know, you make mistakes when you're doing things live. So with that said, we'll try and get it right. Sometimes I forget to switch, like you're looking at the wrong thing. So just, if you're not seeing what I'm talking about, just let me know in the chat. When I look over, I'll say, oh, I didn't switch over to the camera, or I didn't switch over to the studio, so forth and so on. So if I forget to switch, just remind me to do that. All right, now what's product photography? Think of product photography as shooting products, shooting things, shooting, maybe you're being hired to go out and shoot a company's new, what do I got here? A company's new hair products, and they want good photography of it. They don't want to just use drawings or CAD renders. They want actual product shots. So you could go out and be shooting that. You could be go out and shooting anything that basically someone's trying to market and or sell. Now, you could be shooting a product that someone's wearing. So that could be where you're using live models. And it could be clothing, jewelry, hats, accessories, so forth and so on. That's great. And typically with those kind of shots, you're probably going to want a mixture of studio and out in the environment, so where those products would be used. So for example, if you're shooting new basketball gear, you probably want to shoot or photograph the person playing basketball in that gear, or at least on a basketball court in that gear. So just products are products. We all use products of some type. So if you think about the last few things you bought, and I know I'm a sucker for good photography, good pictures, the pictures definitely influence my decision to even click the product to go further and look at it. So if I don't see a good first impression, if I don't see a good image, I'm probably just going to keep scrolling. I'm probably not even going to go and look at it, or I'm going to look at the alternative. So if the product photography is not great, I've got to be really interested in that particular product to keep going. So just keep that in mind, that product photography influences decisions, first impressions, judging a book by its cover. All of that applies to photography or product photography. All right, I'm going to share in the chat, in the main chat here, a link to the gear guide for today. Because a lot of people say, what lens is that? What camera is that? What light is that? So I don't have to like stop and answer all those questions, and it's just easier if you have the gear guide. That way you can scroll through and find what you were looking for, and it's there. Now there's a couple things I'm going to add to it after the class that I just realized I'm going to be using today. A couple like just accessories for your shoot, but all the main stuff's in the guide already, and that link is persistent, so as I add more things to it, you can just always refer back to that link. So go ahead and bookmark that gear guide today as well. All right, hair today, gone tomorrow. That's right. So let's, hey Victoria, let's go in and talk about the setup. So let me give you a quick look at the studio. So I've got 3 lights. I'm probably not gonna use more than one, but just in case, I've got lights set up on the sides. I'm using Westcott FJ400s. I've got 2 strip banks on the side. I think these are 1x3s. And I've got a small octa, which is my favorite shape for modifiers, up top, pointing down. So all 3 of the same strobes. I even also have a speed light. I have the FJ80, just in case I need to like pop a light onto something quickly, I can. And the background, the table that we're using right now, I just got a couple regular tables, but the setup is the, and I just drew a complete blank on the name. It is the, I like literally this word popped out of my head, but I'll think of it in a second. Anyway, it's a setup where you can buy different backdrops and bottoms to go under the things you're shooting. I know that V-Flats makes one as well, but this is not the V-Flat one. This is the smaller one by, I can't think of it. All right, I'll think of it, or it's probably in the gear guide, or if it's not in the gear guide, it will be. All right, so without further ado, replica surfaces. Thank you, Victoria. That's why I looked over the chat. I said, someone knows what this is, and of course, Victoria shoots with this all the time, so she knows. So yeah, these are replica surfaces, and they are not a sponsor. That's why I couldn't remember their name. They're not a sponsor. Anyway, nobody's sponsoring this, but I just thought that was funny that, you know, I couldn't remember. Anyway, so replica surfaces, again, it's 2 panels that are kind of clipped together with little stands that they provide, and you buy whichever ones you want on the bottom and the back. Some are plain, some are actually scenery. So like, for example, we have one that's a kitchen background. So if you wanted to shoot a product that looked like it was in a kitchen, you wouldn't have to take it to and clean up your kitchen or make your kitchen perfect. You just pop the kitchen background in and put the product in front of it. So having a good system like this is important, and replica surfaces makes a good setup like this. All right, the products themselves are just random products. So like I said, none of this is sponsored, so just some things I grabbed from around the house. So we're going to talk about how to do that. Now, I purposely left some things not in the best position just so we can correct as we go along, because if I just turn on the lights and take a picture and everything's perfect and say, okay, class over, you don't really learn anything. You don't see the process of how to fix things that aren't necessarily right. So let's go through that process. All right, let's start off with turning on the camera.
Camera doesn't support that.
Thanks. I'm gonna turn on my Nikon Z6 II, and I've got it mounted in vertical orientation. I've got the Westcott FJX3 trigger on top. And the nice thing about the trigger is that it's camera independent, so you can use this trigger with whatever camera system you may have. And it will also fire the speed light. So I like that aspect of it as well. On the camera, I'm using a 24-70 f2.8 lens. So this is all mirrorless. This is the mirrorless lens for this camera, or the mirrorless lens for the 24-70 range at f2.8 by Nikon. And I think I've covered all. Oh, and I'm using a tethering cable. This tethering cable, these are great. These are by Area 51 Tether. So Area 51 Tether, they have sent me some free cables in the past, but this is actually one I bought. So this is one of the first ones I bought from Area 51. Great cable for tethering. They make them in multiple lengths. The one that's actually on the table to shoot as a product, I haven't opened yet, is a 31-foot cable. So they do great jobs at all kinds of lengths that you may need to do a tethered setup. And you might say, well, what's tethering? Why would we do that? We're going to talk about that right now. So let's get the computer set up. So let's switch over to the desktop. And I've got Lightroom Classic open here. And in Lightroom Classic, I'm going to, first of all, you can see on screen, this is kind of from a previous shoot, where I was testing macro photography, just shooting some chess pieces. So I don't think I'm going to have time to get to the macro stuff today, but just keep in mind that that's another cool way to show a product really up close and personal, especially with shallow depth of field, that you get with a macro lens. So just another option to do that. You've even got macro capabilities on your latest smartphone. So if you're using the latest iPhones or use latest Samsung or Google Pixel, you probably have great macro capabilities even on your smartphone today. Okay, next up, let's start a new session. So I'm going to say import, actually say tether capture, not import. Start tether capture. And that will bring up this, this window, which I'm going to name this. This will be the names of the files as well. Product shoot, photography, masterclass. Okay, product shoot, photography, masterclass. I want to start with the first one being number 1. It's got my copyright already in. I could put in some keywords if I wanted to. I can also designate that it goes to a specific collection as I shoot. I'm not going to do any of that right now. And I don't need to segment, although I could. So for those of you wondering, what's this segment products by shots checkbox for? If you're, and this could be very useful in product photography. I never thought of it until just now, because I usually have that checked for portrait shoots. And what the segment button will do is it'll let you segment or create a new segment every time there's a major change. So for example, with shooting portraits, I would use that to create a segment every time they change outfits or change looks or change the set. So in this case, you could segment by the different products. So if you are shooting like multiple products for the same company, you could have one segment be the hair conditioner, one segment be the shampoo, one segment be them together, so forth and so on. So we're not going to do that. We don't need to do that today because we're not going to shoot that many that we need to segment, but just keep in mind that that's an option. Masterclass is spelled incorrectly. It is, too many S's. Thank you. And not that it would have mattered, but I always like to be correct when we can be. All right, so when I click OK, that will then go look for the camera, which it found it, because the camera is connected via the cable and turned on. And just another bonus tip for those of you who are new to tethering, I always, and again, this varies by camera, because some cameras you don't want to do this, some cameras you do. But for Nikon-specific camera shoots with tethering, I always take the memory card out, because it can't shoot to the memory card anyway. And so having it in there doesn't do anything. But if it is in there and it does have a bunch of images already on the card from the last shoot, from the last time you used this card, when you go to start tether capture, it has to look at every single image on that card before that little bar comes up. So if you got 1,000 images on this card, you're going to be waiting for it to go, yep, they're all there. And then the bar will come up. So if you ever wonder why your tethering takes so long before it starts, take the card out, or at least put an empty card in. Now, why I say you might not want to take it out, if you're a Canon shooter, Canon can write to the card simultaneously. So just start with an empty card. That way, again, you won't have that delay when it starts tethering. Okay, card's out, tethering came right up. You can see the settings there, but I'm also going to show you the settings there. So my typical settings for shooting in studio, in studio it's usually 99.99999% of the time on RAW, always on RAW. 99.999% of the time on manual. So I'm on manual, autofocus, but manual settings. and I am at F8 because I want everything to kind of be in focus. If I were shooting wide open, it would be because I want the things behind the product to be out of focus. So we may try that. We may experiment with that because I have some things that aren't part of the products that we might want a little more shallow depth of field. But I'm so close, everything's so tight, may not get it. And of course, ISO 100, because I don't need to be any higher than that since I'm supplying light. I don't need to bump up the ISO to accommodate for no light. And that's pretty much it. So we've got everything kind of set. Let's go back to the computer for a second. And on the computer, I don't want that tethering bar there. So I'm going to either A, Command T, PC Control T, simply hides the tethering bar. Command T will bring it back up. So it doesn't turn tethering off, simply hides it. And if I hit the letter F for full screen, that also hides it. So that'll bring the picture that I take in full screen. So let's try just a quick test. I'm just going to turn the light on. I'm not going to change anything. I'm going to leave it where it was last set. And it's a good thing I'm tall, so I can reach that light. Okay, the light's on, and we're just going to go ahead and take a test shot. Okay, lots of things wrong. This is why I did this on purpose, because these are things that need to be fixed. Number one, and it depends on which one you find most offensive. Number one, the picture's blue. Number two, it's dark. So, or number one, it's dark. Number two, the picture's blue. So, and composition's not awesome either. So a couple things we would want to try. So first of all, let's get out of full screen for a second. And I can tell one of the reasons why it's blue is because of this option right here, same as previous. When you do same as previous, that says auto-correct this photo with whatever settings were used last. So whatever settings were used last, I probably had the temperature down to cool the photo down a little bit, but that's affecting this. So I can either A, turn that off, see if I get a different photo, or B, go fix it, and then same as previous will work from here on out. I usually prefer the go fix it method because I do want the settings to be accommodating this particular environment as opposed to the last one. But let's just try turning it off, see if it makes a difference. Yep, I can see the white balance change right off the bat. So now it's no longer blue because it's not doing whatever the last photo was. And when I say last photo, I mean last adjusted photo. So the last adjusted photo was kind of blue. Now this one, since I turned it off, is not, and we can keep going. Okay, so we have our dark issue to go with, and that's for a couple reasons. Number one, the light's turned down. It's not, I don't mean physically, I mean the power is turned down on the light. Number two, the light is not over the product. The light's right here, product's back there. So I would start with moving the light. Let's start with that. That could do wonders. All right, so it's on a weighted light stand for obvious reasons. We don't want it to fall since it's leaning forward like that. So I'm kind of carefully moving it in place. Let me see if I got it over enough. Yeah, that should do it. Okay, so now the light is directly over the table. I'm not going to change anything else. Not going to change the power just yet. Just going to take that shot. Okay, so didn't make a big difference moving the light. So this is a case where the power needs to be turned up a little. So right here on the trigger, I see that it's set at 3 stops. So I'm going to go ahead and change it to, I'm going to double it. Let's go to 6. Maybe not. Let's go to 5. Every time you hear that beep, it's changing 1/10 of a stop, okay? And now let's try it again. All right, getting better. I would still prefer it to be a little brighter. So I'm going to go ahead and do what I thought at first, double it. So let's go to 6. All right, we're getting in the ballpark. Now, the other thing you might want to definitely check on your computer is you want your screen you want to turn up the brightness on your screen, because a lot of times we work, our screen brightness is down. So when you're shooting tethered, you may be getting a false sense of reality either way, either because the screen's too bright or the screen's too dim, and it's not really reflecting on what you're actually getting. So I turn the brightness all the way up, and now I see it's much brighter than I thought it was, which is great. Nicholas says, for me, it takes a long time for the images to end up in Lightroom Classic when I shoot tethering. New cable? Could be. I'm assuming you're on the latest version of Lightroom, so Lightroom's been sped up quite a bit. But yeah, I would maybe check the cable. Also, this, size of your file, like how big is your file, how fast is your computer, all of that matters. But yeah, I would check those things. Okay, so now that we have a decent exposure, there's a few things wrong with the product placement. Number one, it's just not good. Like, product's kind of leaning over a little bit. From the top, there's a little bit of reflection on the plastic. And honestly, if I were going to really shoot this in real life, I would never lean it up against the backdrop like that. I just wouldn't. Because this is the kind of product, if you're going to shoot it in a bag like that, it just doesn't look right standing straight up. So what you would normally do in a situation like this is you would take it, lay it down, and shoot straight down onto it. Now, I might try that just now. It's not going to be perfect because I'm going to be hand holding. I'm not going to have it set the way I would normally set it, but just giving you an idea of how to correct this on your product shoots going forward is that if something doesn't look right standing up, lay it down, because then you can do all kinds of things with it and you don't have to worry about as many problems with it being crooked or not, leaning or so forth and so on, or shadows behind it, so forth and so on. So let me try and take the camera off the tripod. Famous last words. And I'm going to try and shoot straight down on it. I may or may not be successful. Let's give it a shot. All right, much better from a placement standpoint. Now it's a lighting issue because the light is actually too bright for it to be where it is. So in this case, I might crank the power down a little bit. When I say might, I will. So that was on 6. I'm going to bring it down to 4.5. Let's try it again. And you also sometimes end up with it being oriented different if the camera thinks it's not perfectly lined up. So that's why I turned in that shot. But we have some lighting things to take care of in this if we were going to do this. And honestly, I could spend time trying to fix the lighting. And if the customer really needs it in the bag, I probably wouldn't shoot it on this surface, because I picked this particular surface on purpose because of its reflective nature. So in this case, I would shoot something more matte, something that's not as bright and shiny, so I don't have to deal with all the lighting issues around it, and then I can just focus on the light on the product. And honestly, when you're shooting plastic with a white light, it's going to be hard as hell not to have any type of light reflections on it. Now you can, of course, turn the light down, reposition, change it, put diffusers in front of it. There's all kinds of things you can do to try to soften that light so it's not as reflective, but it's not going to be... Oh, sorry. Can we see the screen? Yep, see, that's what I told you earlier. I warned you of this, that you may not see the screen. Okay, so let's try it again. Everything I said still applies, but now you can actually see it. Okay, there we go. So this is where we started. This is where we ended. Once we start shooting overhead, and this is after turning the light down, but the camera still thinks it's turned. So this will be a quick turn in Lightroom, no big deal. But just keep in mind that you end up with these type of lighting issues shooting shiny things. So shooting shiny things is a big challenge no matter who you are. All right, now, one of the things I might also do is when you're shooting products for someone, chances are you want to get either A, multiple products so that you can play around with them. Number two, if the packaging obviously is important for retail, but the packaging is not important necessarily for the website, because usually they show the product, not the package it's going to come in, unless it's a box. But usually they don't show it like this, they show the actual cable. And they probably started showing the actual products when photographers started complaining how hard it was to shoot the shiny plastic. So let's do the next best thing. Let's take it out of the bag. That's why I said if it's important that they still maintain the bag, then ask for a couple different products so you can take one out, you can have one in, and that way you can have the best of both worlds. Now, I'm not trying to give you a way out of shooting shiny things. Shiny things are hard. They're not easy to shoot. But do yourself a favor, a couple quick tips. Don't shoot on a shiny surface, and diffuse the light more or move the light further away, or angle the light at a different angle. All those kinds of things can help you reduce that shininess. All right, so now I'm taking it out of the bag. I basically have done that. I've just laid it on the table as is. Let's go back to the computer. And let's just take one more of this. Okay, so off the tripod again. We're going to shoot straight down. And see, now the product's not the problem, it's just the surface. So if the surface is your issue, don't shoot on a shiny surface. But this would work out great if the product was not on the shiny surface, which it doesn't need to be. So it's doing me more harm in this case than good. So you might be saying, well, Terry, why did you pick that one? Of all the replica surfaces you probably have, why did you pick this shiny surface for product photography? Because other than shooting this cable, it's going to come in really handy. All right, this is why, and again, I knew all of this going in, that this would likely be an issue with this particular product, but I wanted to give you some things to think about on your next product shoot in case you run into these issues. Okay, this was just an impromptu thing. I wasn't planning on shooting this, but thanks, Area 51. Tether. All right, so now let's go in. Let's shoot what we really came here to shoot. Let's start with one bottle of product. So I'm going to put the one bottle here, and now you'll understand why I picked this particular surface to shoot. All right, and sorry I didn't show you. I just put the bottle on the table, so that's where it's positioned. I can move it closer, further back, but that's pretty good right there. All right, so now if we go back to the computer, there we go. There we go. Now we're good because that shiny surface serves as a reflection of the product, which looks great. That I don't mind. I don't want to see the light bouncing up, but I do want to see the product reflected in the surface. So now we just continue to work on the lighting. So in this case, let's go back up, because remember we turned it down, trying to reduce some of the product lighting in that plastic bag, which is never going to be fun. But this is the kind of stuff we run into. Okay, much better. And looks good. So you can shoot tighter, of course, shoot cropped, tighter if you need to. And if they just want the product, let's say you're going to cut it out, and you don't see that line where the two surfaces meet. This is why we normally shoot with seamless paper, is because it curls under and gives us that look of there's nothing there, the product's floating in space. So in this case, having that table gives us an actual table line, but if you don't want that table line, then you might want to just drape some seamless over your surface, which we're going to do in a later product shoot. You're going to actually see that happen, where you don't have the line. So let's keep building this up. What power setting are you adjusting on the camera? The only power setting I'm adjusting on the camera is the actual light. So I have the trigger, and I went from 4.5 up to 6.2. So it's just making the light brighter. I'm not touching the camera at all. So we go back to the camera settings. The camera settings have not changed. Still f/125th of, 1/25 of a second, f8. So not changing the camera settings at all, just the light. All right, and again, it's going to keep getting bright. Now, keep in mind, that's shooting straight down. If I really want to aim the light at it, I could just aim the light at it. So for example, if I add a second light, just to show you the difference, let's turn on the speed light. Okay, speed light's coming on. It's on now. So the speed light is in group B. So I can set group B and group A's power differently. It's set at 4.5. So I'm just going to point this at the product just to show you a difference. Too much. So clearly this needs to be turned down if I'm going to try this as a shot. Also, it creates that shadow behind it. So shooting straight on with your light, there's a reason why it's up above, because it doesn't give us these problems. Now I could try turning this light down. Let's go to group B. Okay, let's turn this all the way down, because it was also just too bright. And there's no diffuser on this, so this is raw power of the light. Let's start at 1. And again, the beeping is 1/10 of a power. Okay, so just starting at 1. Let's try that. Better. So you could get away with, just in the times you need a little bit more directional light, just holding a light like this to do it. So now let's go up a little bit. Let's try 2. All right, just double the power. Too much. So 1, less than 2 is going to be that sweet spot. Let me try a different position. Point it down a little bit. Maybe it was the position of it. Yeah, position. So in that case, notice what I did. I did not go mess with the power first. Just angled the light a little bit so it's more like this as opposed to straight up and down. Oh, I'm sorry, straight forward, parallel. All right, so you can always add a speed light as your second light source if you want. All right, I'm going to turn this off for now. That was just an experiment. And now we're going to keep building this out. So let me check the, make sure I got any questions here. No 3-point lights, not for this. Comes down at an angle. Yep, when the light comes down at an angle, it reduces the glare. Cool. What about the side lighting of the 2 softboxes? I haven't got to those yet. I need one of those. Great, go buy one. They're in the gear guide. Great tips. Okay, let's keep going. All right, so now let's say we add a second product. Now, the second product is just as important, so you might want to position them right next to each other, because usually, unless the second product is complementary, if you're shooting 2 products that go together, then they should go together. They should have equal stage presence. So we're going to like maybe angle them in towards each other a little bit, and then try that. And again, studio shot, I keep forgetting to switch and show you what I'm doing. So second product is adding this Pantene Pro V Smooth and Silk Conditioner. We're going to put that right next to the shampoo. And then we'll switch back to Lightroom so you can see it. All right, here we go. Yeah, no harsh glare. I could bump up the light on the subject a little bit, but I would probably do that right in Lightroom. I probably wouldn't mess with that in the shoot. I could. So let's try it again with the speed light. Let's see what difference we get. So not going to change a thing on the camera. Not going to change a thing on the overhead light, the main light. Just going to add the speed light again. And I'm just holding it. It's still at power 2.0. So I haven't changed anything on the power of the speed light. I'm going to angle it down and shoot. I don't see much of a difference. Let's move it a little closer. Yeah, it got a little brighter. That's about it. All right, let's put it real close. I'm seeing like such a minor difference. All right, so let's maybe take the power up of group B just a little bit. All right, I just bumped it up a half a stop. Again, no, all right, let's put it right in front of it. It's there, it's firing, but, oh, you know what, it's not firing. That's why. I'm like, why? I'm not seeing anything. Something's wrong. When you do something so many times and it doesn't look like it's doing anything, something's wrong. So it switched channels by mistake. All right, so now we should see a difference. There we go. Something was wrong. So it made me look at the equipment because it wasn't making sense that I'm moving the light that close. It's not making any impact. So I accidentally hit a button that changed it to a different group or different channel. All right, so now we can try it. And it's just giving it that little bit of fill that we need. And again, depending on the angle, if you don't want the shadow, angle up. So light always travels in a straight line. Somebody at the door. Light always travels in a straight line. So if you're getting a shadow on your product, do that. Like tilt it. Because you want to put the shadow on the ground or you want to put the shadow out of the frame. So just by angling it a little bit more, gave me from that, I can see a small shadow in the background to that. Just moving the angle a little, slightly. And again, if I keep playing with that angle, so I can try it now straight on. That's good. And if I shoot it straight on, like I was doing before, that was a mistake, that's when we get the bad results. So angles matter, not only just in composition, but also lighting. All right, so let's point it up a little bit. There we go. And you get the idea. Okay, next up. I'm going to keep adding to this. So this, remember I said I was going to add something to the gear guide? I have a collection of these little shapes. Victoria actually found these. These little shapes are great for little stages, little things that you want to add to your shot. So this is a square, the circles, triangles, different things. So what this is great for is this. Taking your shot, taking your product, and actually giving it a little stage to go on. Something like that. Okay, so let's see what difference the stage makes. So we'll go back to the desktop. We'll use our speed light just for a little bit of fill. We'll also angle this over a little bit more. So just giving it something to break it up, something a little bit different to look at. And then people start questioning, well, why is that one on a pedestal? Is it better? So just giving some people something to think about, something to look at. All right, can you add the speed light? Can you add a speed light onto the hot shoe? You can, but I wouldn't. You can't, yeah, certainly. I can put that speed light right on the hot shoe, but that's usually in the worst possible position, because think about where the hot shoe is. It's right on top of the camera, and therefore either you're going to be shooting up or straight on. Remember, straight on wasn't good. So I always, 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 always recommend off camera. So if I was really going to use that as part of the shoot, I would then mount it on a stand, pointing down or pointing at an angle, but usually never on the hot shoe. All right. Yeah, you better put it on, if you don't want to hold it, just put it on a stand, but don't put it directly on top of the camera. All right, so next up, adding a little bit more. A little still life. Just nothing to do with the product, but it gives it atmosphere. It gives it that, hey, this is in a cool spa. This is in a cool location. And this is something that's going to go in the back and maybe not be completely in the frame itself. So we're just going to move that back a little bit and off to the side. And so remember when I talked about I'm shooting f8 now, I wanted to kind of blur that out in the background. I might shoot a little bit more wide open, maybe go to f2.8 so that that plant is a little out of focus. Okay, let's switch back to the computer so you can see it. And there it is. Okay, so I would do a little bit of moving here. There we go. Let's do some moving, positioning here. Maybe something like that. Give it a little bit of space. I can still see everything. Okay, and I wasn't using the speed light. Let's use the speed light. Okay, let's try that. That's better. Better yet. So all I did was angle the speed light. I just turned it a little bit. Same angle down, but I just moved it over towards the plant more. Okay. Now we're going to try just another lighting technique just to see which one we like better. So we've been shooting the whole thing with this overhead light. And that's cool. Gives us great product shots, something cool to look at. But what if we only used the strip banks on the sides? So no speed light, no overhead light, just the lighting from the side. Let's see what we get with that. So I'm going to move these lights into position. I'm going to turn them on. Okay, that one's on now. This one might be a little trickier because the other light's in the way, so I might have to move the other light out of the way. Okay. There we go. Let's get this out of here. Need to move this back some more. Okay, and let's turn this one on. Now, right off the bat, one problem I see is that one light is higher than the other one. So I need to at least make them the same height on light stands. There we go. Just so I get equal light. And they should both be in the same group. I believe those are in group. They're in group A as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn off this light just to make it easier. There we go, main light's off. So now the only lights that are on, let's turn off the speed light as well. Speed light's off, so the only lights that are on, let's hit test, should be those two. There we go. And they're, oh shoot, they're up quite a bit. Ah, I see why. One's A, one's C. So this one's cranked up quite a bit. Let's change the channel on this one if we can. Or group, not channel. group. Let's also make this A. Let's also now do a test. So for those of you who are new to working with multiple lights, what a group simply means is that I can have A, B, C, D, so forth and so on the trigger and control the power of each group. So typically, I would do the main light as group A. These would be group B. Maybe the speed light's group C, and that way I'm controlling them differently as needed. So somehow this got put on group A, and rather than change that one, I just moved that one to group A as well, since I turned this one off. But typically I would have these in group B. All right. That's going to be super bright. I can tell. I saw that when I saw how much light was coming out of those. All right, so let's turn down the power of group A now that we got the lights so close. Let's bring it down to, that was at 6.4. Let's bring it down to maybe 3. Let's drop it in half. Okay, here we go. Let's try it again. Still super bright. Let me make sure this one is on the right group. Again, if it's no change, yep, something's wrong with the equipment. All right, so this one's also in the wrong group. There we go. Now it's on group A. It was on group D for some reason. I thought it was on A. All right, let's try it now. There we go. Because again, if nothing's changing in the shot, something's not set right. So immediately when I took that second shot after dropping the power in half and the light didn't go down, something's not right. All right, so now that we got the right groups, now we can go back to adjusting the power of that group A. Okay, now let's try that. That's on 5. And you get a different look. So you notice that the light is we're getting rim light now down the sides of the bottles. And I think that looks pretty cool. That still doesn't mean I don't want a little bit of fill light in the front, but I do like what I'm getting on the sides now. So just giving me that little bit of fill light is making this look more professional, more cool. This would look like what you would see on their website or in the catalog. All right, let's move this, let's try it one more time. And that's the thing about a product shot. Taking one more shot should be identical to the one before. There's no person, they're not moving a little. They don't have a different expression. So once you take a product shot and you like it, keep continuing to shoot the exact same thing without making any changes. It's going to give you more of the same exact shot. Now I want to turn this Pantene a little bit. The word Pantene on this second bottle is getting a little washed out. Let's turn that so it's more straight onto the camera. So now I am making a change. So now when I take that shot, we should see a different one. Okay, so note that took care of the word Pantene, still getting my rim light down the sides. So the next thing I want to do, now I want to try the speed light again. And in theory, if I didn't want to use a speed light, I could turn on the main light again, put it back in position, put these on 2 different groups so I can control the power differently. Have the main light power different, the side lights the same power in a different group. Okay, turning this back on. Takes a second to fire up. It is in group B still, so great. This one is being controlled differently. And now let's go ahead and shoot that. Give it a little bit of fill light. Okay, different angle maybe. There we go, got rid of that reflection I didn't like. Angle. Yeah. That's where I want to be. That's the money shot right there. That's where I want to be. There's a slight reflection on the one in the left corner that I don't like. I'll just remove that in Lightroom with the new brush, the remove tool, or the erase tool, whatever it's called. I would just take that off, and I could try it at a slightly different angle, see if I can get rid of it that way, but that's a keeper. Nope, still there. Try a different angle. Gone. Okay, so if you can get rid of it in the shot, definitely get rid of it in the shot. But don't stress over if it's one little thing. Go ahead and keep that shot and then fix the one little thing. Because what happens is, chances are if you start making a bunch of changes, you introduce other problems. You end up taking away from everything you like just to fix one thing, and then now everything else is off. So I really would have kept that other shot, because now I'm noticing on the right side of that bottle on the stage, it looks a little, now I'm getting a glare on that one. Let me try one thing. You turn this one straight on as well. It was still a little tilted in. Too much. Turn it back a little. And now speed light. See, now I'm introducing other issues. Let me try and bring it down. You're just moving around. Now, I'm not feathering this. I'm not diffusing this at all. So I could also use a reflector, all kinds of ways to soften that and get rid of it. But just giving you some ideas of what would happen if you shot it bare bulb like this. Okay, let me move it further back. Yeah, different. Yes, it's going to be there no matter what because of the nature of the product. So in this case, I probably go back to one of the ones I really liked and just remove that one little reflection off of it. Or I could keep working on this and spending time with it, but for probably diminishing results. Okay, we're almost out of time. Let's quickly get this out of the way. I want to show you one more shot in the background here that I promised on continuous seamless paper. So I'm moving all the products off the table, off the replica. I'm just going to throw them over here for now. I'm going to move this one. And let's get the replica out of the way. Just going to pick up the whole thing. So this is the back of the replica. To me, that's wasted space. They could have put something on the back. So you have two sets. And I think V-Flats did do that. Okay, so now what we have is the flying product. So a lot of companies want their product, especially if it's a product that has motion, they want that product in the air. So let's get these tables out of the way. We gotta do this quick. We only got like 3 minutes left, but you'll at least get an idea of what it looks like. Let me zoom in a little bit. And we'll just use the same lights. So don't judge the lighting. The lighting may not be perfect, but at least we'll get the shot. Here we go. Cool. And there's something cast in the shadow over there that I would move out of the way. But now in this case, hang on a sec. Now in this case, all you'd have to do is Photoshop off the strings. Yep. So let's turn this light in a little bit more. All right, there we go, we're getting close. But you can barely even see the strings on the laces. It's only the ones on the back, but you remove them all. But that's like, this is gold. This is money shot. So actually Victoria styled this one. This is her product shot, her shoe actually. And if you wanted to go add a little bit more in the 1 minute we have left. You might go with something like this. And I'm screwing that up. Okay, there we go. All right, folks, that is our time. So hopefully you got something out of this. Hopefully you'll go experiment with product shots, even if you're just shooting with your phone, because I think you're gonna have a lot of fun with it. Now, in this last shot, the thing I would do is I would like zoom in or move the camera up, so I don't need to see the front of the table where the paper's curled over, or just crop it. And away we go. So with that said, I wanna thank everyone for joining me. Stay tuned for the next masterclass that's coming up. And cheers, everyone. Catch you on the next one. Bye, everybody.